I kind of know you're into retro gaming. So like
I am.
what kind of stuff do you collect? Like what consoles? Like what's your retro gaming taste?
So sorry, Obi-Wan just took a tumble there. So with retro games, that's right here. That's what
Yeah.
I like to collect. Like I always tell people, figures, that's for my photography. If I had to get rid of them all, I would probably, or most of them. I have a few sentimental ones, but retro games though, that's that's where I get the thrill of the hunt. That's where I get
Yeah.
all of that stuff. So I collect. What don't I collect is a better. So we just recently finished our Nintendo console, so we have all Nintendo consoles with the exception of the Virtual Boy, if you
Uh-huh.
count that.
Yeah.
um, so I like collecting consoles.
Mhm.
I'm also a big Game Boy collector.
Do you
Like
have every
Game
Game
Boy,
Boy
I
console?
have them all with the exception of the Game Boy Light, which was the it came out in I believe 1998 at the same time the Game Boy Color. It was released only in
In Japan.
Japan,
Yep.
but it still had all English text and stuff, and it was a front lit Game Boy before the SP,
Yeah,
and it
yeah,
was
yeah.
the only front lit Game Boy. And it's the one that got away because I have a prominent memory of I've only seen one once in person, and it was $40. And I was like,
What?
I'll find one cheaper another time. What a fool I was.
Wow. Yeah, because I didn't really know much about it, but I researched it recently since I'm going to Japan, and I've been watching a lot of retro game hunt videos out there. They're everywhere over there.
I know.
So, like,
Oh,
when I go, that's number 1 on my list, and I know you mentioned you'd like to go to Japan, but if you don't get to go, I could grab one for you, man.
dude, that would I would.
Yeah.
It'd be so awesome. They are it's the only one I have, of course, the original brick. I have several Game Boy Pockets. I'm also into modding them, so I have usually if I have several, I've modded
Nice.
one and I have an original.
Yeah.
So I have a few Game Boy Pockets, one's modded. I have my original Game Boy Color, because that was the first one
Mm.
I got. And then I have a custom Game Boy Color that I had. It's got a custom skin on it.
Mhm.
Uh, and like it's got a Mewtwo skin on it. It's got light up buttons. It's got a touch thing on
Oh.
the top. Do you want me to go get some of these?
Yes,
Because they're just
yes, yes,
downstairs. I'll say
yes,
I'll be right
yes.
back. I can go get a
Go.
couple of them.
Yes, yes.
Okay. I've only grabbed a couple.
Ooh.
So, all right. I'll try to make this as not boring as possible.
Oh, no, this is great. Take your time. No, I wanna see this.
So I just grabbed some of my Game Boys because, like I said, that's kind of my thing. So this is my modded pocket that I made,
Oh, it
uh,
looks like the
all white.
OG. Yeah.
Yeah, all white. And then here, let's see. I'll grab a Game Boy game, throw it in there. This was back if you're into modding at all.
I know
Um,
nothing about it, but I wanna learn.
you're not gonna be able to see it on camera. So back in the day, or back in the day, not I guess not long ago, the only way you could put a backlit screen on a pocket was by taking out the screen and then carefully removing the polarizer on the back. It was
Mhm.
a very difficult process, and a lot of you could ruin the screen really
Yeah.
easily. So now you can just get drop-in screens, some IPS screens. So this one looks like the batteries are getting low, so you can't really tell that it's backlit, but of course you can hear it. And I put Link's Awakening in there.
Ooh.
So so that's one all white. I love that, and always making sure I put the OEM stickers so it looks
Yeah.
real. Like I love that. Um, here's my Game Boy Color, my modded one. So I'll go ahead and put Link's Awakening in that too. I should have brought a Pokemon game, but there's a
Oh, the
and
Mewtwo.
backlit. And check this out, just a touch brightness control.
Wow.
And then this is a relatively new feature. The buttons light up.
Wow. And you did all that yourself?
Yes. Well, that's so it's a lot of this stuff they make really easy to do, but it's
Uh-huh.
also that's what I have a degree in electrical
Yeah.
engineering. So like this is what I not that you need that to do this, but it does help to do some of the more intricate stuff.
Uh-huh.
Like for example, the one of the it's a small thing, but it is so great. Um, where's my Yeah, so you see the power LED?
Yeah.
So on a Game Boy Color, it just lights up red when you have the power on. Well, I wanted to know when the batteries were getting low. So I had this custom board made by, I think the guy's name is Froggo Customs.
Uh-huh.
And it's purple on theme, but then it will go orange when the batteries get low. So
Wow.
it's a custom, it's a flex PCB that goes on the actual board. It gets soldered onto the actual board, and then the buttons, the LEDs on the buttons. I have an issue where my sometimes LEDs really bother my eyes,
Mhm.
so I wanted it to be toggleable. So I have a switch down here where you can turn, like if I want to sit here and play it, I
Yeah.
can turn the LEDs off. Uh, so yeah, this thing super cool.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite builds. Um, Here is one of my GBA SPs. My special one is actually up here somewhere because I
The
talked about it on the show.
Yeah, the blue one, right? The blue purple one?
The blue one. So this
Yeah.
one is an AGS 101.
Uh-huh.
It's got the backlit screen, super bright. Love these things. This was actually just given to me by a coworker not long ago. It was
Wow.
crazy because I was actually working because at work I have a lot of stuff, like all my electrical tools. So I was doing a lot
Mhm.
of my modding after I got off, and a coworker walked by and was like, "What's that?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, this is a hobby of mine." And the next day, she brought in just a case that had this and a bunch of games in it. She was like, "Here, just have it. It's
Wow.
just been sitting in a closet." I'm like, "Okay."
Thanks. Yeah, that's so cool.
And then okay, so then this one is my modded SP. It's just,
Ooh.
and this is not an original shell, so
Yeah.
this is a real thing, but you could only get one of these shells, like, this special edition with a frontlit screen, but this has the backlit screen, and it's just really
Mm.
nice. Um, so I need to get stickers for it because it doesn't have stickers. And then here we go, the Game Boy Micro.
Oh, I want one of
This
those things.
has this has a custom machined aluminum shell on it with a custom faceplate from, I don't remember where it's from.
Mhm.
I actually want to put the original back on it, the original shell, because I like it a little bit more. But so that's one. These things, gosh, they're hard to find, micros.
Yeah.
Uh, but then the best one is the Japan exclusive
Oh.
20th anniversary of Mario, complete inbox Famicom edition of the
Wow.
Game Boy Micro. And this one's cool because there were other Famicom editions, but not
Uh-huh.
all of them had the little Mario on the back. And that's actually
Wow.
engraved, like it's etched into the metal. So
Where'd you get that from?
this is funny. This was when I worked for a video game startup for a little while,
Uh-huh.
and we had a massive deadline that we had to meet, and I was the team lead for the animation team. And my boss, the game director, he was also into retro games, and
Mhm.
he knew that this was like one of my holy grails. And he told me, he was like, "If you meet this deadline, I will I will purchase you one of those." And I was like,
Wow.
"Okay." I didn't meet the deadline because it was
Mm.
it was an impossible deadline. It was just not feasible.
Yeah.
And I think he realized that because I remember right after that month, I came into work and this was just sitting on my desk. Uh, so really cool. Very.
That is awesome. I've seen a bunch of those in those Japan videos I've been watching because there's a chain store in Japan called Hard Off,
Hard
and it's
off. Yep.
it's a, it's a, like a secondhand electronics store where people buy, sell, trade their old electronics. So I literally have a map of about 15 to 20 different hard offs. There's another chain called Book Off and Hobby Off, which is kind of the same thing, and they have electronics. And there's a store called Suragaya. So all these electronic stores, there's probably about 30 of them total I'm going to go to. I think I'm more excited to go on the retro game hunt than I am for Celebration Japan because
Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
it is, but for me, it's the nostalgia and the childhood stuff. Cause like, everything I had as a kid is just sitting in bins over there for dirt cheap. The pricing on
Hmm.
this stuff, and, like, now that I know you can, like, mod and kind of repair stuff, a lot of those places have broken Game Boys that are dirt cheap. Honestly, I'm probably gonna buy them all and be like, "Hey, let's figure it out," and
Hey,
I
yeah.
Cause like,
Hey, that it's one of my favorite things to do is fix Game Boys because
s-
most of the time, like 75% of the time, they just need cleaned. Like the boards
yeah,
just need cleaned because they get just gunk inside the power switches and stuff because they use these slider switches and or there's corrosion on the battery contacts and it's
yeah.
like, but that's the boring stuff. I I could talk about that stuff all the time, but yeah, no, I hear you, man. I'd love to go over there and just dive into those bins because there's so many uh so many systems that I would like to. I would just like to have a reserve of a bunch of Game Boys for parts and stuff.
Yes.
So yeah, I definitely
Yes.
hear that.
So now that I know that, cause like, I wasn't gonna buy a lot of broken consoles because I can't really do nothing with it, but if I'm finding Game Boys for, like, $5,
Yeah.
I'll buy 30 of them, and then
Right.
we'll figure it out. Cause like, when am I ever gonna be able to buy consoles for that cheap? And I kinda made a crazy list, so when I go, I wanna get like, the Japanese Famicom, I wanna get the Super Famicom, I wanna get at least 2 or 3 of the Japan N64s, like the clear colored ones, like the blue
Oh
one,
yeah,
the orange
the
one, the
Fantastics.
yeah, I wanna get at least a couple of those. I wanna pick up a GameCube. I want the what is it? The Spice Orange is the Japanese exclusive
Yes.
one. I wanna get that. And then Game Boys is where I'm in trouble because I kinda wanna get one of every Game Boy, but the Game Boy Color, I want the Toys R Us Tiffany color Japan exclusive one. I
Oh.
want that. Yeah, I want that one, and then I wanna get a light. I don't care if it's the silver or the gold version, I just wanna find a light that works, and,
That's the big thing. Like if you're gonna get uh broken consoles, yeah, those are really great because you can just do drop ins and stuff. But if you want to
mhm.
get like special editions and stuff, man, like with the pockets, the pocket, the light. I don't know if the light has this issue, but I know the pocket and the Game Boy they have something called screen cancer. Have you ever seen that?
Where,
Something
like,
to watch out for.
it's like the screen kinda, like, burns in, it looks like, or is it
No, it's like on the edges. You can see like this black
Oh,
kind of seeping in,
uh-uh.
and like that's yeah, it's one of those things. I think it's technically repairable, but it's a nightmare, so it's not worth it. So that's one thing I would say
Oh.
look out for.
I'll keep an eye out for that, but
Yeah.
so there's a bunch of consoles I wanna get handheld and then the main consoles, but I also and I made this list earlier today, I have a list of 100 video games I wanna buy while I'm out there, which sounds
Oh,
crazy, but, like, it's also gonna be a very cool video, "Hey, I bought 100 Nintendo games in Japan," and, like, a
yeah. I
crazy
mean, there you
thumbnail.
go, banger title.
But all of them, so I literally went through every console I had as a kid, like the list of every game ever, and I looked, and I want to get every game I ever had as a kid on NES, on Super Nintendo, on 64, on GameCube, on Game Boy, on Game Boy Color. So I went through the list, and it's about 100 games. But like a lot of these games, I'm seeing in these videos in these bins for like $2, $3, $4, $5. They're really, really cheap. And like if I were to try to get a lot of this stuff now in the US at the prices now, it'd be crazy. So
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, that's the case. They are starting to come down, I will say, a little bit.
a little bit, but not like these
Yeah,
Japan
not a lot.
prices. Another big piece of hardware I'm gonna get, and like I just hope my luggage is big enough to fit the box because I see them at hard offs in the box all the time. Is remember the Super Scope?
Mhm. Of course.
$18 over there in the box for a
In the
Super
box,
Scope.
yeah. See,
That's
that's the stuff
crazy.
that I would be really intrigued by over there is a lot of the CIB stuff because you
Yeah.
don't see a ton of that stuff here.
No. So it's going to be very fun and interesting over there. And hopefully you can make it. But if not, like give me a list of like your Japan grails and I got
Alright.
you.
Hey,
Cause
Imma take you up on that
no,
because I got some.
I start making that list now. That way I can add it to my list. Like I'm for real. Cause like I even like I kind of had an idea of where the hotels were that I was gonna stay at originally. But now that I found all these stores, I'm tweaking all my hotels. That way they're in walking distance to a couple of these stores. Cause our plan is as soon as we land the first day in Tokyo, we're gonna go to the hotel, drop the luggage off, and go right to hard off right away. Cause like I want to pick up something instantly because I just have the itch for the hunt.
Yeah, no, I get it, man. That's been a dream of mine too, and that's part of the reason I've been thinking about really going. Uh, yeah, so My biggest thing is I announced on the show today, but my first child is due this spring, and
Congratulations.
thank you. And I was looking and I'm like, wow, that due date is real close. And obviously it's next year, but I'm like, there's no
Yeah.
way I'm going to miss my child's first birthday to go to celebration. So
Oh,
that's that's the
yeah.
big thing is like I'm waiting. I'm like, okay,
Oh,
we'll see
depending.
how it shakes.
Yeah.
But that's really my only
Wow.
reservation to go right now.
That yeah, that makes sense. That makes complete sense.
But if so, I'm going to be hitting you up. I'm going to be like, hey,
Oh, no, man, I so it's so funny, like, I already have, like, about 30 videos I wanna record while I'm in Japan for the 11 days between both channels, between the Star Wars Sith channel and the Hyrule Sith channel, because there's just a lot of, like, video game stuff out there. I mean, it's Japan, it's the motherland.
right? Yeah, I mean, it's exactly it's the
Yeah,
genesis of all of it.
and
So
it's
do you collect? So you're going to be collecting for like the games you had when you were a kid. So you don't have like specific series that you're going after in particular?
so I'm gonna get all the games I had as a kid, but I'm also gonna buy pretty much every Zelda game that I see, no matter what, whether I had it or not. I want to get every Game Boy Pokemon game. So red, blue, yellow, green, gold, silver, and I think emerald were all on the cartridge, not
Yes.
including the advanced ones. So I want all those Pokemon games and then every Star Wars game. So there's a lot of Star Wars games on like
Right.
consoles that I never knew existed. Like there were a couple of new ones I saw. Like Yoda had a Game Boy Color game. There was an
Yeah,
Obi
check out
Wan
this one. I just picked this one up. Star Wars Racer
that's on the
for
list.
the
That's on my list. Yep.
GBC.
Yep, that's on my list. So, I'll be doing a lot of that stuff, but Zelda is my biggest one. I'm gonna get everything Zelda, and Zelda will probably be the only one where I buy the Nintendo Switch version just to have the Japanese cover of Tears
Oh,
and Breath of the
cool.
Wild. But, you're pretty big on Zelda too, eh?
Yeah, so we collect, I should say we, it's mostly me. My wife enjoys video games as well, but I do mainly series. So I do the Pokemon series, Legend of Zelda, a
Nice.
little bit of Mario. I'm not quite a completionist on Mario,
Yeah,
but I am on the other series, and then Star Wars games. Mostly Star Wars
nice.
handheld games. That's kind of the idea. So for Pokemon, I just actually completed that milestone. I'm only missing Ultra Moon, and I'm just not in a hurry to get it quite yet. But
Yeah.
I did get the entire DS library, and I've had the entire Game Boy library. And I finished the Game Boy library just before COVID hit, so I
Mhm.
was able like I bought Emerald for $20, which is wild because that game is
Nice.
expensive now. But
Yeah.
yeah, but the DS games, gosh, they are not cheap. So
No, uh-uh.
I paid up for a couple of those, which hurt my soul a little bit because I'm a
Yeah,
bargain hunter, so
me
I'm
too,
always
yeah.
looking. But I did end up it was Black 2 was my last one, and that game's like $150, and I found one for 115. And I'm like, well, probably not gonna find any cheaper, so I'll grab that. But Zelda, I'm only missing the Game Boy Advance games, and it's really sad because I bought them first, but they ended up being fake.
Oh,
I didn't know that until years later because now I can spot fakes from a mile away. But
yeah.
uh, since they were the first ones I ever bought, I just never considered it. It was
Mhm.
actually at a game store with a friend of mine, and we saw the Minish Cap, which is for Game Boy Advance, and
Yeah.
it was $80, and I was like, I told my friend, I'm like, $80. Like I bought this game for 20 with Link to the Past Four Swords. And then it hit me. And I'm like, oh man, I bought a
Oh,
fake. And I said that, and it was funny. An employee overheard me. He thought I was talking about the game in the cabinet. He's like, no, 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 that's not fake. I'm like,
yeah,
no, not yours, mine. Unfortunately, I went home and I took it. I have a tri-wing screwdriver, popped it
yeah.
open. I'm like, sure enough, they're fake. I'm like, dang it. So
Wow.
that's the only ones I'm missing now. I'm missing Minish Cap, Link to the Past for GBA, and then the two NES classics for GBA. But I have the rest of them.
So yours, it's all the US versions, right?
Yes.
So, like, for Japan, would you try to, like, get every version of it in Japanese or just select ones? Because that's a
So,
dangerous rabbit hole too.
yeah, select ones. I've thought about this because I have run into Japanese versions at
Uh-huh.
game stores and stuff before. I think I would enjoy having the Game Boy Advance Pokemon games,
Mhm.
the Japanese versions, because I love the box art. and
Yeah.
they're not too expensive in box. You can find them for like 40 bucks, I think,
Mhm.
which for Pokemon, it's super cheap.
Yeah.
So I would probably like that, but I'm not a big foreign game collector.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't mind it for the consoles because most of them aren't region locked.
Mhm.
But yeah, for the games, I like to stick to US version for the most part. So I don't know that I would find a ton of games over there, but consoles, man, yeah, I'd be all and accessories too, like the
Yeah.
weird stuff.
Oh,
Gosh,
so I'm in a couple of the videos I've been watching, they've been finding Game Boy cameras and Game Boy printers. So every Game Boy camera I'm picking up, I'm snagging. I had one when I was younger. I remember that terrible looking camera, but I want it
right?
for the nostalgia, like for sure. But yeah, I'm not a big Japanese collector either. But if I'm there and like freaking Wario Land is $1, I'm gonna buy it. Like, that's just insane for, like, a memory of the trip, but just to have it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's gonna be wild, man. It's gonna be
So
very wild.
what Game Boy are you looking forward to the most? Like what's your Game Boy?
My Game Boy, like, probably I grew up on the brick so much in the pocket and the color, but I think the color probably was my favorite. I had the clear
Mhm.
purple one, and I bought one
Common
maybe
Purple.
yeah, yeah, I bought one maybe a year ago, so I have that now. So that would probably be my favorite. I never had the SP or the Advance, but I'm gonna pick them up while they're there. I do have an SP now because my younger brother gave me one, so I have an SP, and it's dope. It's crazy how it lights up. Like what? Back in the day, like especially like if I was playing in the car, I would try to be sitting by the light to get the street light coming in to be able to play.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep, yep.
Oh,
Memories, man. I was the
the
same way.
struggles, but yeah, I wanna find all those wacky accessories like the light that would slide on top, the light with the little magnifying glass,
Oh,
remember
yeah,
that?
the worm lights and stuff, yeah,
That,
yeah.
and also I wanna find a Game Boy Game Genie because I remember I had that back in the day. I used that on Pokemon Blue to get Mew back in, like, the '90s. Oh,
Yeah, wow, that talk about memories, those and action replays, Game Sharks.
yeah, Game
I had
Shark,
I had
yes.
those too. Yeah, I mostly used mine on the DS era.
Okay.
Uh, do you remember those cheat code books that you could buy?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes. Oh,
yeah.
man.
Dude,
What
I had stacks of that stuff because I would get on
Mhm.
cheatcc.com,
Yeah.
and I had, like, a whole stack for GTA San Andreas that I would use, because I never played the story in that game. I just wanted a flying tank every time I played it.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah,
But
or, some of the Star Wars games, they had some pretty good cheats too. Battlefront 2. Yeah, they
Mhm.
had I would always toggle on infinite hero tokens, and I would just play as the hero the entire time, like in Galactic Conquest.
Yeah, yeah.
Gosh, so many, yeah.
Yeah, so I have a feeling and I already know it. I know I'm probably gonna have to ship something back because I have a feeling I'm gonna have a full suitcase of just like Nintendo 64s and just GameCube, just a bunch of random consoles. And like whatever I buy at Celebration, I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna figure it out, but it's gonna
Yeah,
be
right? Gotta bring an empty 2 empty suitcases,
I'm
sounds
bringing
like.
I'm bringing 1 empty suitcase for sure, and then I'm gonna bring an empty duffel bag, that way on the way home, I could cram all the clothes into the duffel bag,
Oh,
and
there you go.
then yeah, I've been strategically planning this out because this, it's kind of a once in a lifetime thing to be able to get all these games and consoles for this price. It's not like I'm gonna go to Japan all the time,
Right.
it's not cheap to fly there, but once you're there, it's everything is affordable, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm taking advantage of this trip, man, and memory lane every day.